Prior to the Industrial Revolution, a nation's economic activity and population were linked. Nations with large populations usually became wealthy. This is why throughout history, China and India were the richest regions in the world. As the Industrial Revolution began, productivity was no longer tied to labor. Machines could do the work of several people, allowing smaller nations to amass great fortunes. The Portuguese, Dutch, and British used their wealth to control choke points in the Indian Ocean. By controlling these regions, the colonial powers were able to take charge of trade in Asia. Europeans first colonized India, then they set their sights to subdue China. As Europe prospered in the 19th century, India and China saw a rapid decline in their wealth. Today, most countries are able to industrialize their economies. China and India can now catch up with the rest of the developed world and reclaim their positions as the world's largest economies. China and India are at competition with each other. Both countries need resources to grow their economies. These resources travel through the Indian Ocean, where India has many strategic advantages. China is worried that India has control of several choke points in the Indian Ocean, one of them being the Strait of Malacca. 80% of China's oil imports comes from the Middle East and Africa, so naval blockades by India would severely cripple China's economy. To the east, China faces another dilemma. According to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, states bordering the ocean or sea can have special rights for the exploration and use of marine resources. This is called the Exclusive Economic Zone, or the EEZ, which lies 200 nautical miles from a state's border. The South China Sea has huge reserves of oil and gas, as well as 12% of the global fish catch, which is why several countries are fighting to extend their EEZs in this region. Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, and the Philippines have claimed parts of the South China Sea. China, however, is trying to claim most of this region based on a historical claim from the 1940s called the Nine Dash Line. In 2014, Beijing began transforming 7 reefs into artificial islands in the South China Sea. They built military-grade airstrips and ports. These activities have made freedom of navigation difficult for non-Chinese vessels, which has caught the attention of the United States. China wants control over the entire region because most of its energy supply comes through this route. If other countries have some claim over this region, China could become vulnerable to naval blockades by neighboring countries who are allied with the United States. To take control over the South China Sea, China needs a stronger military. China knows if it came to war, it is outnumbered by the United States and its allies, which is why it is rapidly expanding its military. In a few decades, China will have the resources to protect its interests in this region, but for now, it has to find new ways to secure its national interests. This is where the Belt and Road Initiative comes into motion. The Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, is a trillion-dollar infrastructure program meant to connect China's economy to the rest of the world. Over 60 countries are involved in this program. If successful, this initiative will connect 2/3 of the world's population with China's economy. The largest component of the BRI is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC. This project connects China to Pakistan's Gwadar port, which enables China to bypass the Strait of Malacca and the South China Sea. CPEC will enable China to import oil without interference from India or the United States. The BRI also connects China to new sources of energy as well. Russia has shown to have large reserves of oil and natural gas. Since China and Russia share a 4,300-kilometer border, pipelines can be connected between the two nations without any interference from the United States. The BRI also connects to Iran, which has just as much oil and natural gas as Russia, making Iran a suitable backup if Russia fails to be a reliable ally. China uses the BRI to give out huge loans to countries that desperately need foreign investment to grow their economies. These countries are usually poor, so they are likely to default on those loans. India is worried that China is using debt to trap countries into giving them access to ports or lands, which could be used by the Chinese military to encircle India and to take control of the Indian Ocean. Sri Lanka, for example, got a loan from China to construct the Hambantota port. When Sri Lanka was not able to repay the loan, China took the port on a 99-year lease. China is also attempting to open ports in Myanmar, Bangladesh, and the Maldives, and it has invested heavily in Djibouti, where it has been able to set up a port. To counter the aggressive expansion of China, India has also started to build stronger diplomatic relationships with its neighbors. India has pledged to invest millions of dollars in Afghanistan and help rebuild its infrastructure. Indonesia has also given the Indian Navy access to Sabang seaport, and Oman has given India access to Port Duqm for logistical and military purposes. India has built an Air Force base in Car Nicobar, and it is planning on upgrading it for more military activity. Singapore has also granted the Indian Navy access to Changi Naval Base, and Iran has given access to Chabahar Port to India. To the south, India has been building Coast Guard facilities in the Seychelles and Mauritius. India and France have also agreed to share each other's military bases. Through this agreement, India has access to France's military base in Djibouti. For every move China makes, India has its own response. It's no secret that the center of economic activity is shifting towards the east. The country that can have a dominant position in Asia will most likely dictate global policies going forward. It remains unclear which country will come out on top, but it is undoubtedly true that China and India's economic rise will shape the course of humanity in the 21st century.